This video is sponsored by Skillshare, an incredible online learning community that offers thousands of inspiring classes.
To me, it's all like laddering up to one thing, which is optimization of self.
Goop has become the subject of countless controversies thanks to its outlandish claims and downright baffling products. So why is Gwyneth Paltrow's wellness and lifestyle empire more powerful and lucrative than ever? In recent years, the brand has seen numerous articles and videos, and even a lawsuit, debunk its pseudo-science-y claims.
Goop does not have the right to market its products using disease treatment claims.
While pop culture largely treats Goop as a laughingstock.
There's no animals involved. All the testing and cruelty is done on and to the staff.
But this has done nothing to harm and has seemingly even driven the company's profits. In addition to harnessing Paltrow's aspirational appeal to waspy women worldwide, Goop is perfectly positioned to capitalize on a climate in which willful ignorance to facts is becoming a political stance, in which people are conditioned to avoid aging at all costs, and in which they're encouraged to take individual control of their own wellness, however ill-advised that may sometimes be. Here's our take on why Goop's infamy has only served to make it more successful, and how the shopping company is a mirror of today's wellness industry at large.
At Goop, you can find everything you need for a life of elegant wellness. An $84 water bottle with an amethyst crystal inside to infuse water with positive energy.
If you're new here, be sure to subscribe and click the bell to be notified about all of our new videos.
One of the things we like to do on Goop is find kind of what the alternative world says about, like, you know, feeling good in the modern day world.
What even is Goop really? At times, Gwyneth Paltrow herself hasn't seemed sure.
You've never been on this website before, have you?
The brand is usually described as being centered on wellness, yet this is a term and an industry loaded with confusing, sometimes controversial implications. The idea of wellness culture emerged as part of the self-care movement, which began primarily among millennials, promoting practices like yoga, meditation, and aromatherapy. The practice of self-care can have many mental and physical benefits for some people. On a societal level, the idea of self-care has helped destigmatize mental illness and encourage prioritizing one's health. And in particular, the wellness industry targeted women. As Taffy Brodesser-Akner writes for the New York Times, the minute the phrase having it all lost favor among women, wellness came in to pick up the pieces. Wellness wasn't about achievements, but a way for women to finally put themselves first. Yet companies like Goop have increasingly equated the idea of self-care with spending money. This has created a kind of paradox, as the core tenets of wellness consist of solid advice that we could all probably use.
And you can learn a simple, accessible daily practice that can give you the time to slow down, reflect, and maybe feel better.
But companies have exploited the hugely lucrative wellness and self-care market to sell more and more unnecessary and unproven products in the name of self-care.
People flogging expensive programs and diets and books, claiming to hold the secret of how to live to 120 years old or cure cancer.
Goop isn't just selling any wellness lifestyle, it's selling Gwyneth Paltrow's.
I believe that beauty and wellness are inextricably linked.
One of Hollywood's most glamorous and well-known actors, Paltrow launched Goop in 2008 as a weekly lifestyle newsletter for friends, until one of Paltrow's followers, venture capitalist Juliette de Bobigny, suggested that Paltrow could be making money off of her endorsements. The company name came from Paltrow's initials GP and a tidbit of advice she heard that successful websites have double O's in their names.
And de Bobigny's intuition was correct.
Goop released its show The Goop Lab on Netflix in 2020 and is now valued at over $250 million. Goop markets itself in part on the desires of customers to be like Gwyneth. This is very explicit on the Goop website, which refers casually to Paltrow as GP,
discusses her using various products throughout its copy,
and includes pictures of her wearing Goop's clothes and features inviting you to look inside GP's shopping cart. But Paltrow herself is wealthy, white, and beautiful, not to mention a famous Oscar-winning actress.
You have everything. You're beautiful, you're wealthy, you're famous.
And since Paltrow's lifestyle is practically impossible to emulate for the average consumer, Goop's aspirational marketing strategy means that customers will keep coming back because there's always something else they'll need to buy. In other words, while the Goop website may speak the language of wellness, it's at least as much about shopping. As Brodesser Akner points out, Goop has managed to combine both sides of Paltrow, the earthy, hippie GP who tries remedies like vaginal steaming, which doctors have since reported is a bad idea, and the uber-rich, famous GP who wears exclusive designer clothing, into one unattainable lifestyle that reflects the contradictions of the wellness industry today.
Well, obviously at Goop, we're very into health and wellness and fitness. And so we believe that you should look chic while you work out.
Goop's emphasis on luxury is in direct contrast to other lifestyle brands which have sprung from famous women like Martha Stewart, whose lifestyle became accessible to everyone as soon as her products arrived in department stores. Many of Goop's products, on the other hand, are expensive to the point of absurdity. See $125,000 gold dumbbells, a $244 toothpaste squeezer, and a $3,000 jellyfish aquarium.
Goop, which offers a $28 exfoliating mud bar. It's great if you're the kind of person who takes a shower to get dirtier.
The price point for many of Goop's products means they aren't accessible to a majority of consumers.
And this keeps the very idea of wellness as something associated with and available only to the wealthy. Goop has even managed to market the act of spending money as luxurious.
As Amanda Mole writes for The Atlantic,
when the hook is your problem matters, whatever package of vitamins or tube of lotion gets thrown in the bag is almost beside the point. The act of buying from a business that makes you feel cared for and understood can seem like a course of treatment in and of itself. Goop's holistic approach of selling not just products but a lifestyle only continues to expand through the introduction of conferences, seminars, retreats, and even Goop cruises.
For a ticket starting at $1,000, you can take a fitness class, get gently stretched by a master Pilates instructor, you can eat a delicate pile of leaves.
Speaking of self-care, what does that idea really mean in a genuine sense? Personally, I believe that a really important part of taking care of yourself is making time to create things and develop passions and skills. And that's why I love Skillshare, this video's sponsor. It's an online learning community offering amazing classes that help you explore your interests and get lost in creativity. Recently, I took Skillshare's fabulous course on self-care from Queer Eye's Jonathan Van Ness. It's a must-do if you struggle with switching off after a long day. Not sure where to begin? Skillshare has so many options that there's truly something for everyone, from indoor gardening to boosting your social media success. What's more, Skillshare is curated specifically for learning, meaning there are zero ads, and they're always launching new premium classes. The first 1,000 Take viewers who click the link in the description below will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. So click the link and start exploring your creativity today.
Goop has famously been the subject of a number of scandals throughout the years over its claims about certain products. The company settled a $145,000 lawsuit in 2018 over unsubstantiated claims about its jade and rose quartz eggs, which were advertised to improve everything from hormones to menstrual cycles when inserted into the vagina.
To help tone the pelvic floor.
How does it help do that?
I don't know.
These high-profile controversies have inspired a flood of mockery and parodies about Goop.
Oh, hi. I was just enjoying my lifestyle, like I do every day, here in my living woods.
So you might expect that after the onslaught of criticism, expose-style pieces, and comedy about the company, enthusiasm for Goop would have waned. Instead, Goop seems to have proved the adage, "there's no such thing as bad publicity," managing to capitalize on this controversial press to drive more traffic to their website and their products.
They go, Gwyneth Paltrow is crazy, and then you go, yeah, very crazy. Very, very rich and very crazy.
Goop's haters have transformed the company into a symbol of resistance
for people who want alternatives to Western medicine.
As Brodesser Akner writes, now Goop was a cause, and GP was its martyr. On one hand, it's important to recognize there are some good reasons why wellness practices based on alternatives to Western medicine have gained popularity in recent years. Some people do find a lot of help through alternative medicine, especially when it's for issues that Western medicine typically doesn't have good cures for.
Sometimes there are not double-blind studies behind, the benefits of acupuncture. If people are feeling better because they're trying these things and doing these things, I think it's very worthwhile.
And many people today are seeking out alternative methods of treatment, including natural remedies like the ones the Goop Lab showcases, such as the controlled use of psychedelic mushrooms or MDMA. Women especially have had many health problems, either physical or mental, dismissed by doctors.
Is it any wonder they would start to seek out other advice?
Especially when that advice comes from a beautiful, successful woman like Paltrow. But as the politicized, polarizing debate has grown in the US between between hard science and home remedies, this has pushed Goop further into the spotlight as a champion for people who are skeptical of Western medical practices.
What we try to do at Goop is to be open-minded and explore ideas that may seem out there or too scary, so that people can have access to the information and make up their own minds.
The increased support for Goop in spite of or even because of its being shamed for questionable recommendations directly corresponds to the rising support for pseudoscience in the Trump age. In an era when believing in science feels more crucial than ever to overcome the COVID-19 pandemic and address the catastrophic coming effects of climate change, people are counterintuitively turning away from science and trusting in sources of misinformation.
And even though we now do have the technology to treat many health problems,
including a totally safe FDA-approved COVID vaccine, people are increasingly refusing even these proven options, believing them to be part of a greater conspiracy.
When people receive most of their information about COVID-19 and vaccination from social media, they're more likely to be misinformed and they're less likely to get vaccinated.
The added fuel to the Eastern-Western medicine debate has only made Goop more notorious to both its followers and debunkers, making it both the target and beneficiary of today's culture wars. The complexity of this moment is also reflected in the shift in Paltrow's personal reputation. The actress was once a media darling, beloved by the same liberals who now express contempt for Goop, while the online hate directed at Paltrow as a person can be surprising in its intensity.
Her role as a luxury wellness CEO is in part so jarring because she's revealing that she's not a collection of the sensitive, intellectual, ingenue characters audiences have associated her with for decades.
When I started Goop in 2008, I was like, my calling is something else besides, making out with Matt Damon on screen or whatever.
Goop's response to negative press has been similar to other science deniers. They acknowledge their claims are not fact, but continue to make them. The fundamental problem with Goop isn't that it's interested in wellness treatments that aren't scientific. The problem is that it profits off of ignorance and confusion about science, refusing to provide more concrete facts and ultimately marketing this pseudoscience as luxurious.
They say that amethyst, I think it's supposed to be a heart opening or something
Who
like
says
that.
this?
I don't know.
Goop preaches an open-minded view, claiming that they are simply asking questions about alternative solutions to common issues.
We are all free thinkers and able to do things and try things that might benefit our wellness.
But asking these questions without the proper scientific context conveniently displays Goop's products without any opposing viewpoints, while conveniently absolving the company of any blame should their treatments be disproven or, worse, have unintended consequences on customers. One woman actually died after undergoing bee venom therapy, a treatment backed by Paltrow in a 2016 New York Times interview. With no option to review products on Goop's website, these claims, despite the company's own acknowledgement that they may be false, have an impact on customers who may decide to undergo treatments or use products that have unforeseen and potentially dangerous side effects.
Goop is using deceptive marketing to tell consumers that it has products that can treat, cure, or prevent a host of diseases and disorders.
Goop has taken some steps in recent years to recruit actual scientists and fact-checkers to their team, as well as more clearly differentiate between medical versus recreational or unproven treatments to their customers. And the company has also used their platform and influence to promote more open conversations surrounding female pleasure and sexual wellness. This is a positive message, at least in theory.
Goop is such a safe environment for me to explore my sexual wellness.
In the Goop Lab episode centered on sexual wellness, the show does a good job focusing on access to sexual education and information, rather than products to help women achieve greater sexual fulfillment.
We can't receive pleasure that we don't ask for.
Yet all of this Goop content surrounded around vaginas, femininity, and sexual pleasure in the end really feels like creative advertising.
It's focused on selling feminism as a product, like their infamous vagina-scented candles.
What a punk rock feminist statement to have that on your table.
Instead of a true message for change on a societal level. While this marketing campaign may encourage some women to explore their sexuality, in the end, like with everything, Goop is simply using this ideology to power shopping. To see the truth behind Goop's women-centric marketing and superficially feminist message, you only need to look at how they treat aging. Aligning with the patriarchal double standard that women must appear young to be beautiful, while men can be attractive at all ages, Goop seems to approach aging as a problem to stave off at all costs.
I think people everywhere are incredibly concerned with their appearance and how they're aging physically.
Rather than empowering women to embrace their age, Goop makes and promotes several products from skincare to supplements which claim to slow down this natural process. Paltrow herself participated in a Goop Lab episode on aging, where she went on an intense fasting diet and tried out a vampire facial to promote collagen growth.
Now I'm gonna collect your golden broth.
Oh my
from your
God.
own body.
My golden bra.
While it's sound advice to take preventative measures like maintaining a healthy diet and exercise routine to avoid chronic diseases and mitigate the physical discomforts of aging, Goop places its emphasis instead on products which make you look younger. It also raises the question of how harmful this wellness approach to aging really is, especially since the science behind so many of these treatments and products is still unproven. And marketing these fad diets as healthy for women could negatively impact young girls, like Gwyneth's daughter Apple, who films part of this episode.
You had 500 calories today?
I think so.
In the end, just like Goop's feminist message, the company's efforts to encourage women to take back their sexuality or health are really aimed at selling products, when even the Goop team acknowledges that the best ways to prevent the bad parts of aging aren't available for purchase.
Like you say, the tenets of wellness are typically free.
Goop works primarily through selling a false message that through products, the average woman can be like its iconic founder. But whether or not Goop has a moral or ethical obligation to better educate its customers on the truth behind its products, the company has only been able to maintain its success thanks to the actions and decisions of consumers who want what Goop is selling.
Just finished this really super healing cleanse I read about on Goop.
Consumers of Goop only make it more powerful, even while potentially suffering negative consequences themselves, opening themselves up to becoming victims of misinformation, unattainable expectations, and financial drain. So, is there any saving grace? Can simply the act of buying luxury wellness products, regardless of whether or not they actually work, make you feel better? Studies have shown that retail therapy can have positive psychological effects by allowing people to feel they're exercising control over their lives through purchases. At the same time, these benefits can be outweighed if people spend outside of their budgets, instead leading to stress and guilt. A study out of Boston College and Harvard Business School found that specifically purchasing luxury items can actually backfire by making consumers feel less authentic, negating the psychological benefits that they would otherwise gain from these purchases. So despite Goop's flashy marketing and sometimes compelling messages engaging in the Eastern-Western medicine debate, you're probably better off taking their claims with a grain of salt and saving money while you're at it.
Tell us about earthing.
So earthing, I don't actually know that much about earthing.
This is The Take on your favorite movie, shows, and culture.
Subscribe so you can watch all of our videos.